feel so soon. I get some of them green alligators and long-necked geese, some humpty-back camels and some chimpanzees, some cats and rats and elephants, and sure as you're born, don't you forget my unicorn.
Engage.
Hey guys, I'm back. This past week has been crazy. I started classes on Wednesday, and the homework is already ridiculous. And I was sitting here trying to do homework, and then I realized that for the past hour I've been looking up how to make a Black Widow costume, and I figured things are just going to go downhill from there. So I thought I would do another chapter, and then get back to homework, and everybody wins, right? So today is chapter 8 of A Rock and a Hard Place. And I know that I've been doing a lot of these chapters in a row. I am going to do more episode reviews. And then I want to do some more videos, but just things have been kind of busy, and it doesn't take as much time, honestly, to do a chapter than it takes to sit down and read a book, which I don't actually have any book reviews planned right now. I had to return my books to the library when I came to school, but I'm going to get more of those. And then as I get more stuff here in my dorm, I will be making different kinds of videos. I'm actually going home this weekend, and I'll probably make a video there. So anyway, there is actually stuff planned for the future. It's not just going to turn into all these book chapters. But anyway, chapter 8. Deanna Choi could read the captain's mood. So could everybody else in the room. Where in hell is Stone? He demanded. It was an open question to everyone in the conference room. Worf, who was already seated, said, I saw him several minutes ago. He said he would be right along. Right along. The words somehow had a more ominous sound to them when Picard said them. He'll be right along. Choi glanced around the room. There was a great deal of free-floating emotion, and she tried to pin it to the source. She sensed annoyance from the captain, puzzlement from Geordi LaForge, sympathy. Sympathy for who? From Beverly Crusher, and from Worf. Her mind shied away from Worf. There was something about the Klingon, something that disturbed her. It had not always been there. No, she knew exactly when it had occurred, when that wall between Worf and her had first been erected. She decided not to dwell on it, for the memories were still too painful. At that moment, the door of the conference room hissed open and Stone walked in. Geordi, Worf, and Data, out of courtesy, half rose from their chairs. Picard remained icily frozen to his. I requested your presence with due speed, Commander, said Picard sharply. Yes, sir, was Stone's calm reply. My apologies. Slowly, deliberately, he walked along the side of the conference table to a vacant chair. Then he folded his hands and placed them on the table, looking expectantly to the captain. Immediately, Deanna tried to get a surface impression from him, a general sketchy idea of the type of man he was. I imagine, Picard was saying slowly, that introductions are in order. Quickly, even naming those that Stone had already met in order to fulfill protocol, Picard introduced each of his officers to Stone, and Stone in return to them. Stone inclined his head slightly to each one. His gaze, however, rested with Deanna. His hard gaze locked with hers. She felt waves of empathy. She got the overwhelming sense that there was so much to Stone, so much there, remarkable depths, and it slammed shut. He blocked her. Blocked her. She didn't know whether to laugh out loud or gasp. The entire exchange had taken only a moment, but already a wealth of information had been exchanged. But not everything. She could force her way in. Humans could block her, yes, but if she put her mind to it, if she concentrated, she could overwhelm those blocks. Indeed, in crisis situations where the captain needed information to make a life or death decision, that's precisely what she would do. This was not that, however, and for her to force her way into Stone's mind, it was just wrong. She would not, could not do something like that. To so override the wishes of another would be the equivalent of assault. If she did something like that, it would destroy her inner peace. She would not have balance or the ability to hear the singing skies. Stone seemed to be smiling at her discomfiture, a pain that only he understood. Choi forced herself to smile and meet his gaze, but he had already seemed to be looking elsewhere, as if his mind had wandered. Yet instinctively she knew it had not. Counselor? It was Picard, sensing something was wrong. She turned to him. Yes, Captain? Problem? None at all. That's good to hear. He paused. I certainly wish that I could say we did not have a problem, but such is not the case. A situation has arisen on the planet Kulanan that demands our immediate attention. Kulanan has been a monarchy for many years now, and the people were eager for a change. Many had felt that the current monarch, Ryan, had become far too oppressive. Recently, he continued, Kulinen's monarch decided he was willing to hold free elections for the first time in the planet's history. He asked the Federation for aid in implementing the election. A team of diplomats were sent in to aid them, strictly as observers and for guidance, you understand. Of course, said Troy. So, said Picard, the election was held, Ryan was voted out, he put his hands flat on the table, and decided that he wasn't ready to go. He declared the election null and void and stated he was the winner. This brought his people to the point of revolt. Ryan promptly took the ambassadors hostage and is now stating that if the Federation does not aid him in quelling the uprising, he is going to kill the hostages. Nice guy, muttered Geordi. So we have been dispatched. We should be there within 36 hours at Warp 6, if that isn't a problem, Mr. LaForge. The Enterprise is humming along beautifully, Captain, said LaForge, adding with a smile, thanks to her chief engineer. I wouldn't think of giving the credit to anyone else. Now then, since this is a serious diplomatic situation, I'm considering leading the away team myself. Comments? A poor move tactically, said Worf immediately. Risking the captain is always to be avoided, if at all possible. I'm not sure how possible that may be in this instance. He turned towards Stone and said, very deliberately, what are your thoughts on the subject, number one? There, he'd actually said it, taking a step toward accepting Stone as Riker's replacement, albeit temporarily, by using that holdover military term that he'd so comfortably and casually applied to Riker. Deanna Troi looked from the captain to Stone with great interest. This was exactly the type of situation where Riker would stridently try to curb Picard's instinct for leading his men in all ways, in all instances. Most of the time, Riker argued him out of it, occasionally not, in which instances Riker seemed to get a little sulky. Stone pursed his lips and then shrugged. Go ahead. You're entitled to risk getting killed. Dead silence. Are you saying, Picard said slowly, trying to comprehend what he'd just heard, that you do not wish to head the away team? No, I'm saying that if you want to do it instead, that's your right. He frowned. Are you saying it's not, Captain? Of course I'm not saying that, Picard said, voice sharper than he would have liked. I'm saying, said Stone, that if you wish to lead the away team, fine. And how would you view that? As an indication of how little you trust me. He leaned forward, suddenly whipcord tense. He said slightly, because if Riker was here, you wouldn't hesitate to send him down, correct? Picard's instinct was to reject the insinuation out of hand, and then, almost to his surprise, he realized he was nodding. All right, said Picard. You think you can handle it, this situation on Kulinen? That's not the question, is it? The question is, do you think I can? The other members of the crew kept looking from Stone to Picard to Stone and back again. It was like watching a tennis match. I won't send you into a situation you feel you can't handle, said Picard. There isn't any such animal. Picard suppressed an amazed chuckle. You are that confident? Yes. Stone's expression had never changed, never showed the slightest flickering of emotion. Stone-faced, thought Troi. For a long moment, Picard said nothing. Then he leaned back and said, Make it so. You choose the away team commander and you will lead it. Stone inclined his head slightly. That was all. Picard turned towards Beverly. Dr. Crusher, prepare sickbay for potential casualties, although hopefully there won't be any. Above all, we want to get those diplomats out safely without violating the Prime Directive. It will be something of a balancing act, without a net. When the meeting adjourned minutes later, Picard made a silent nod towards Deanna. Deanna was already so in tune to the captain that she had sensed his desire to talk with her in private before he even indicated it. The moment the doors shut behind the others, Picard said to Troi, Well, Counselor, impressions? He didn't even have to specify impressions of what or of whom. They both knew what he was talking about. Commander Stone has a very powerful mind, she said slowly. Very strong-willed. In a way, almost as strong-willed as you, but lacking your willingness to open up. He's very guarded. Secretive? Cautious. He's hiding something. She smiled. Aren't we all? He nodded at that and rose from his chair. He walked the edge of the room slowly. Coming to the viewport, he looked out as the stars raced away from them. How much further could you probe with him? I will not do it in any such a way that it would violate his right to privacy, she said stiffly. You could not ask me to do that, Captain. Nor would I, he said with assurance. He hesitated, and Troi said, You are still troubled. Nodding, Picard turned towards her and said, The general buzz in Starfleet is that our Commander Stone is a space case. Her eyebrows knit at that. You think he's insane? Some hold that opinion, yes. Then what in heaven's name is he doing in a position of power on a starship? Because, Picard said, they have no proof. What is your feeling on it, counselor? Best estimate, is Commander Stone sane? Yes. Is he crazy? No. He blinked at that and smiled slightly. You sound quite certain considering that you only had surface impressions. Don't misread that term, Captain. What is surface for me would take 3 months of steady probing for a non-Betazoid to learn, and not quite as reliably. She paused, sensing that the captain was still having misgivings. Insanity in a human is very easy to detect. Thought patterns are random and uncontrolled. Either that, or certain aspects are out of proportion to others. Paranoia, for example. Even my surface reading of Commander Stone could detect that. His way of handling matters may be original, perhaps even outrageous, but he is not insane. Original, mused Picard. For example, reverse psychology. He wants to make damn sure I stay on the ship, so instead he urges me to go to the surface. There is that, Troy said with a smile. You think that's what he did. It presents itself as a possibility. Certainly he was not intimidated by the thought of leading the away team. Nothing intimidates him, really. It's as if... Her voice trailed off as she realized something. He's not afraid of pain. I beg your pardon, counselor? She tried to find words to phrase it and once again wished she were full Betazoid so that she could communicate telepathically and not be limited to clumsy verbiage. Pain takes on many forms in humans, she said. The pain of death, the pain of embarrassment, the pain of social ostracism. It's a very powerful emotion and one of the most easily sensed. And I didn't sense that from him. Meaning he doesn't have it? Meaning he represses it so far down that it's not easily touched. And that is very unusual. Odd, said Picard. There's a human colloquial expression of feeling no pain, generally meaning the individual is inebriated or otherwise in a pleasant, foggy haze. Commander Stone is definitely not foggy, Captain. That is very true, said Picard, and I cannot shake the feeling that I should proceed with the utmost caution in how I deal with him. Picard turned and headed for the bridge, and Troy followed him. For one moment she started when she saw Stone seated in Will Riker's chair. Then she realized that it wasn't Riker's chair. It was the chair of the second in command. Naturally, that would be where Stone would sit. Still, it jabbed at her like a pin in the heart. She cleared her mind, regained her mental balance, and walked to her seat on the other side. Picard went to his command chair, but yet did not sit. He never did when about to issue orders. Mr. Crusher, he said to Wesley, set course for Coolin and warp 6. Wesley's fingers flew over the board, and he nodded shortly. Course laid in, sir. Picard pointed with a slight snapping motion. Engage. Smoothly, the Enterprise angled off and kicked into the increased warp. Picard eased down into his seat and turned toward Stone. He watched as the silent commander surveyed the bridge, taking in every detail. At length, Picard said, What do you think of the bridge, Commander? Still looking straight ahead, Stone said. Technically, very impressive, Captain. Picard leaned forward quizzically. I can't help but notice your emphasis on the word technically. Is there some other aspect of the bridge that you find deficient? Slowly, Stone shook his head. You don't want to know, sir. It would make you angry. All heads turned to this, and Picard was the most confused of all. Commander Stone, he said carefully, whatever disagreements you may have had with Captain Borgia, we do things differently on board the Enterprise. If we have concerns on our mind, we discuss them freely, without fear of reprisal. That is the sort of communication I was discussing earlier. I assure you, whatever you have to say, if it is presented in a calm and thoughtful manner, I will not get angry. Calmly and thoughtfully, Stone said, for one thing, the boy has to go. Wesley went dead white. From behind Stone, Worf rumbled, the boy. And the machine, Stone added. Data turned around and looked at Stone. In my ready room, now, said Picard angrily. I don't think we should go in the ready room, said Stone. Why not? I'm not ready. Picard slowly stood, towering over Stone. Stone, wisely, did not stand as well. We have to talk, grated Picard. Stone looked from one to the other. The waves of fury from Picard was buffeted to her like something living. And Stone, tranquil, at peace, balanced. But his voice was like iron, and he said, Captain, you asked for my opinion. I warned you. You disregarded it. I told you. And now you're upset with me. Troy knew instinctively what was going through a captain's mind. Picard was blocked. He could order Stone into privacy, even have Worf pick him up and carry him there, which Worf seemed ready to do. But Stone was openly challenging him. All right, then. Open challenge, openly met. You, said Picard tightly, will learn respect for other crewmen. I have respect, shot back Stone. I also have doubts. The bridge of a starship is no place for a kid, and I'm sorry, Mr. Crusher, but that's how I feel. You're an acting ensign, whatever the hell that is. I don't know. Does anyone here know? Sharply, Picard said, it means that Mr. Crusher, by his actions, had earned a position of responsibility on the bridge. A position which could and should be filled by any of 5 other people on this ship, all of whom have been through Starfleet Academy. And as for the android at Ops, Picard intensely disliked being in the position of defending his bridge crew, but Stone was clearly not going to let it drop. Mr. Data is a valued member of this bridge crew. I don't like it, sir, said Stone. I don't like having machines, no matter how sophisticated, sorry, Data, having positions of authority. Are you aware of the debacle of the M5 experiments when they tried to put a computer in charge of a ship in lieu of a captain? That was decades ago, retorted Picard. Mr. Data is far more advanced than the M5 was. Even now, Starfleet is doing research to understand my makeup and capacity, Data added helpfully. It didn't help. Oh, that's wonderful, said Stone. He's in charge of Ops, and we don't even completely understand how he works. And now Stone stood, body language directly challenging Picard. Commander, Picard said with dangerous quiet, the sentiments you are expressing are completely out of line for someone wearing that uniform. Captain, Data spoke up thoughtfully, you and Commander Riker voiced the same concerns. Picard stopped in mid-thought and turned towards Data. In the past, you quite clearly stated that children had no place on the bridge, said Data. Yes, but Picard found suddenly that he couldn't meet Wesley's look. That was before I knew of Mr. Crusher's capabilities. And, continued Data thoughtfully, as I recall, Commander Riker, as did Commander Stone, cited concerns about working with a machine. So although I obviously do not agree with Commander Stone's assessments, they would certainly seem consistent with earlier human reactions. Yes, but Picard gestured helplessly. It was the way in which Commander Stone said it. And now Stone slowly sat, looking contrite. I'm sorry, Captain, he said sincerely. I'll try to be more tactful when giving my opinions in the future. It was some time later when Troi entered Picard's ready room. The captain was sitting there, staring into empty space. Troi stood there, her hands folded in front of her, until Picard spoke. He did it to me, didn't he? She raised an eyebrow. It, Captain? Made me look like a fool in front of my crew. They know you are standing up for them, sir. He stood up and came around the desk. So why is it that it seemed that I was some sort of bully? You lost your sense of balance. Yes, I did, didn't I? He said. He sighed. Thinking of how Stone so rattled Andy Borgia put me even more on my guard than I should have been. Made me overreact. Counselor, is Stone trying to make me lose my temper? She considered it. I believe it's a control effort. He wants to have command of a situation. That, and also he may just want to see if he can make you lose your temper. Why? I don't know. She paused and then said, There are ways to find out, though. Ways beyond mental probes. Sounds like you need a detective, said Picard. He half smiled. Where's Dixon Hill when you really need him? Or Sherlock Holmes. She returned the smile. But there are ways, and I will find them. Troi came out of the ready room and saw Stone in the command chair, looking secure. He did not even look around when she emerged and went past and up the ramp to the turbo lift without so much as a word. She returned to her quarters and pondered the situation for long minutes. What was Stone trying to accomplish? Did he have some sort of actual plan? Was he simply reacting instinctively? Space case, she said out loud, a cheerful throwaway term to give gloss to a concept that was frightening. Someone for whom the mysteries of space, the oppressiveness of the everlasting dark, the constant need for artificial protection had become overwhelming. Something had just snapped, despite all the psychological preparations, all the certainties. How could the unknown really be tested when it was, by definition, unknown? But Stone wasn't insane. She was certain of it. She went to her computer monitor, called up Stone's service record, and went to work. This was actually getting really good.